Hello everyone, I'm Slade, I'll be your host, and welcome to Star Wars Did You Know? In this video, we're going to be discussing the Victory-class Star Destroyer. This will be part one of a two-part series in which we do so. Before going further, it's important to note there is very little canon information in the current Disney canon on the Victory-class. We know it exists, there is a canon entry for it, however they give us almost no information on the class. Thus, the majority of the information contained within this video will be taken from the old Legends canon. The Victory-class was the result of a joint project by Kuat Drive Yards and Radilli Star Drive, called the Victor Initiative Project. It was a direct competitor to Kuat Drive Yards' Venator-class Star Destroyer. And the Victory came into production about midway through the Clone Wars and served alongside the Venator throughout the Clone Wars in limited use. The big differences between the two classes of ship were the Victory relied more on its own weaponry than its starfighter or troop complement in order to support the war effort, whereas the Venator had very large troop transport capacity and a massive fighter complement. The Victory had much heavier armor, much better armament, at the expense of ship speed and assault capabilities. One interesting thing about the Victory versus the Venator is while the Venator could land directly on the surface of a planet and deploy troops directly to the surface, a Victory was unable to land, but instead had massive maneuvering vanes on either side of the ship that enabled it to maneuver very nimbly within a planet's atmosphere, and this meant it could give direct fire support to supporting troops. Now, we don't see this in the Clone Wars comics or show or anything else, but an interesting tactic, I think, would be to have a Venator class descend to the planetary surface and deploy its troops, while the Victory class was overhead, providing direct fire support to the troops and its counterpart, the Venator-class Star Destroyer. At the conclusion of the Clone Wars, the Venator and Victory-class Star Destroyers were replaced as frontline ships by the newer Imperator-class, which was a larger class of warship that later was renamed under the Galactic Empire as the Imperial-class. Now, of the two ships, the Venator and the Victory, which had served throughout the Clone Wars, the Venator was retired completely, as it did not adhere to the brand new Tarkin Doctrine, which, rather than relying on sheer force to make worlds comply to the Galactic Empire, it instead relied on fear of force. While the Victory and the Imperator, now Imperial class, did personify this in the ability to completely level a planetary surface, the Venator did not have the raw firepower to enact such an action. Rather, it relied on its troops and its fighters to do such things. And this meant that while the Victory went on to serve in the Galactic Empire as a second-line warship, essentially a large heavy cruiser, the Venator was rapidly phased out. And the ultimate fate of the competition between the Venator and the Victory won the war. The Victory class continued to see service with the Empire, predominantly as a patrol ship and anti-piracy ship. Its slower speed and heavy armor meant that it was not suited to ship-to-ship combat, but it was very good to provide a presence for the Empire within a planetary sector where it, paired with either another Victory class or smaller warships, could provide an effective deterrent to insurgency or attack from outside forces. While many within the Imperial Navy saw assignment to a Victory-class Star Destroyer as a second-line duty to a second-rate warship, their value was not lost on the Empire as a whole, and they continued to see service throughout the Galactic Empire as sector patrol ships, as planetary garrison vessels, and even as small chain command ships. But one notable personality who made use of Victory Star Destroyers was then Captain Thrawn, who commanded multiple Victory Star Destroyers in his initial career before his eventual rise to Grand Admiral Thrawn. Then, as a Grand Admiral, Thrawn, unlike many of his Imperial counterparts, chose to use Victory classes simply because of logistics. It was cheaper to maintain multiple Victory Star Destroyers than it was the larger Imperial classes. While the Imperial-class Star Destroyer was better equipped, better armed, it was also extensively more complicated to maintain and much more expensive to provide for. Thrawn, along with others, saw the value in a smaller, cheaper Star Destroyer with similar capabilities to the larger Imperial class. In addition to this, the Victory class has the dubious distinction of being the largest class of warship captured by the Rebel Alliance from the Imperial Navy. It is unknown exactly what role captured Victory class Star Destroyers played in the Rebel Alliance fleet. There is no extensive material on them. It just mentioned that the Rebel Alliance had several of them during the Galactic Civil War. It's unknown if they were destroyed or recaptured by the Empire. However, we do know they did exist, and the Rebel Alliance used them, and they were considered very effective. Ultimately, the Victory class would go on to serve throughout the Galactic Civil War and in the fleets of many Imperial warlords and in the resurgent Empire under Emperor Palpatine, Thrawn, and many others. In addition to this, both the New Republic and the eventual Galactic Alliance would make extensive use of Victory-class Star Destroyer subvariants. In the next video, we'll be discussing some of the subvariants. I hope you've enjoyed it, and will join us then.
Alright everyone, that's the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, feel free to like and subscribe. There'll be more content coming. If you'd like to support the channel on Patreon, please do so. Every little bit helps. Until next time, this is your host Slade, and this has been Star Wars Did You Know?